Come on, live. Where are you at? There we go. Hey, welcome to The Death of a Dream. This is the podcast where we just chat about what's going on. But first and foremost, we always chat about our greatness. Yeah, that's right. We go there. We absolutely do. So let's go ahead and ground ourselves in our greatness. I have been opening a practice of increased presence. This is like new next level stuff for me, but I realized that I was constantly pulling my presence somewhere, and I have such little time to be present at home with my family, with my own mind. Like, I wish that it was only specific to my family, right? Because that's an easy one. I'm also using this as a scapegoat for my own headspace. And so I needed to get a better handle on what was going on. So I have started just not having my phone. It kind of started with just eliminating it from putting it in my room, having it wake me up, having me start my first day with mindless scrolls, having me end my day with mindless scrolls. And I think that's, obviously how a lot of us wind down, how a lot of us do things and end our day. And I'm not trying to make it some bigger animal. If that's how you relax and that's how you let down, do it. Go for it. Go crazy. But for me, now that I'm shifting into kind of this new headspace, I'm realizing how very, very little it does for me. And how I want to find other things to wind down with. Right? And I always have. How many people have just books and books and books on their nightstand that they never read because, well, why would you? You have all this other stuff to read. And what I began to kind of test it out on Facebook, as that is my kind of app to be gone of choice. If there was a social media place where I didn't have to be present anymore, it would be Facebook. And so I started testing it there, completely deleted the app, stopped checking in except for in the mornings, just for business purposes, and looking to even further that reach now that we're in this new space, and kind of shut everything down and really only check in from the desktop in my morning postings. Because otherwise it just gets out of control, right? Like, gosh, I've talked about this before, and setting the timers on your phone and making sure that you're watching how much time you're spending there. And if this is like the thing for you, the guilty pleasure for you, it's like your tabloid magazine, go for it. I'm not saying eliminate something that makes you happy, but if you don't find happiness there and it really is draining for you, mentally and physically and all those things, then go for it, right? And so now I've just started, phone goes on the charger in my office and stays. I'm going to have the best charged phone that could ever exist. And really stays there unless I'm needing it for pictures or something of the sort. Otherwise, it's just hanging out. I don't know. I started to look into different options of phones. Like, do I even need a phone that has all of these things? What do I need this for? Do I need to be that connected to the world all the time? Or is it okay to let it go, to hang it up? And so begun testing that this week, and placing it there, not even getting it in the morning, not even having it be my alarm, right? Heaven forbid we got an alarm clock, which we had. It just wasn't plugged in, because why would you plug in your alarm clock? You have a phone. But I just felt like my phone was ruling my existence. Like, it was how I woke up, it was how I went to bed, it was kind of every minute in between. And I don't know that I want something having that much power over me. So, beginning to test that. First 2 days of it, yesterday in the afternoon, it kind of felt like, ooh, yikes, right? And I think that obviously exhibits some form of dependency, because in the afternoon I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't scrolled in so long. I have to scroll something, like give me anything. And it felt really uncomfortable. And it felt like I had been away from something that I kind of depended on, for sure. And so we'll continue to work on that. And that's not just like, oh, Hannah's being crazy and now she's not doing a phone and she's testing something new. That really aligns with me continuing my work with presence and anything that's pulling my presence. And right now, that's the glaringly obvious one. And really in alignment with me wanting to continue to further my mind, continue to work and commit to research, to build new things. And I really can't do that if I'm constantly tapping out and being distracted by something. And, I started paying attention to it probably 2 weeks ago. Like, really, where is my mental energy going? Really, why am I not staying committed and focused on these things that I say that I want to do? What's causing that? And the cause of that, from what I'm finding, really was my phone. And so we're going to start testing this and see if just eliminating it altogether, or definitely eliminating the majority of the use, see if that helps. So, phone comes to the charger. I would say, last night, put it on the charger after I was done with work and class and all the things that I'm doing. So it went on the charger at 8 p.m. and I picked it up. I haven't picked it up yet. But that's a long time. Can you imagine being without your phone for that long? And I'm going to continue messing with that. So really probably setting up who can get through when I am in kind of airplane mode or silence mode, and making sure that like emergency contacts and things don't fall through the cracks. But I also have, my significant other who can pick up some of the distance that I'm not, allowing with my phone. So still working on how to balance that, but it felt good yesterday. It wasn't a perfect practice. No. We did not curb the phone all day long, and I did not see it at all because, hey, right, I got to have something. And I gave in a little bit, and then I realized how truly addicted I was to it. So we'll continue that work. It has felt better to just not have my phone in my face right when I wake up and right before I go to sleep. And that's, not even specific to all the things that I want to accomplish. That's just a common practice of not having, blue lights in your face, all the things. So we'll continue this work. We'll continue to move. And yeah, is it a little beyond and a little crazy? Yeah, but see how long you can last. Maybe just start testing it. Just see if you're addicted, because you probably aren't. That's probably what you're saying. Oh my gosh, Hannah's so addicted. How sad. And kind of, I'm addicted because I'm just sitting here in my house all by myself. The only way that I exist is if I go and pick up my children. Like, if I don't have that, do I exist at all? Right? And yep, I do. I really do. I'm still a human person. I still am here, regardless of social media presence or not. So continuing to test that. Obviously can't completely disconnect because of what I do, but I can slow that pace. And, it's not even to say that it's bad. Obviously, as humans, we're going to adapt. We're going to find ways to exist here This is more of a spiritual journey in just the testing of what I can and cannot handle in the pursuit of my own presence. And so that's not for everyone, just something I'm doing, something that I feel great about acknowledging. And maybe it doesn't last forever, and maybe it isn't a thing, but definitely just seeing where I'm at with that, and listening to what my response is and what I feel when I pull that out, right? Do I feel like I don't exist without it? And testing all of those thoughts. So that's my great thing. Go ahead and take a chance on recognizing yourself for your greatness. It really is about finding great things in every day. If you come to this podcast and you're like, nothing great happened, I want you to push yourself. Push yourself beyond that thought, beyond that limit. Continue to pull greatness out of your every day. Oh my gosh. It's really imperative as we continue to work in this space and drive through what we want our life to look like. Okay, let's go ahead and dive in. Today I was just having thoughts on why a little bit I'm in this headspace of why do we even do anything, right? And for me, it's now understanding how vital happiness is in the moment. And that's not that you're not planning, right, for the future and manifesting and dreaming about where you want to go. It really is about matching the vibration of the current moment. And so I think a lot of times for me, it always looked like, right, I was so planning so much in the future that I wasn't even in this moment at all. And while that's great for my future, that also means that my vibe is inconsistent with where I'm presently at, which means it can impact, right, how happy I am. It can definitely impact how much I'm able to do in this current moment. And yikes, right? Have you ever been there where you're looking forward and you feel like, okay, when I get there, I will be happy. I swear I'll be happy when I do X, Y, and Z. I got to get through this. I got to get through this week. I got to get through this month. You know what? Once we get through this year, then I can find happiness. I can start to settle, start to figure things out, start to X, Y, and Z. And while that's true, right? Some of us just go through seasons of madness where it's just like, I just have to survive at this point, right? And survival really is the only focus. Once you get out of those survival seasons, we have to start acknowledge the growth that we're having right in that moment, right? Start to acknowledge the present space in your own greatness, in your own amazing being, right? Because sometimes we miss that. And we're chasing the six-pack abs, and we're chasing the time, and we're chasing the, fill in the blank. And what we don't realize if we've never accomplished said thing is that the power really is in the process, right? And if we can't love the buildup of what that is, then we aren't going to love the result. Yikes. If we can't love the process of getting to the result, we won't love the result. And, I find that so true in so many things. And so, that just means when you're in whatever it is you're trying to build or do or make happen, if you can't find some semblance of happiness, then it may not ever make you happy, right? And for me, that looked like, I remember sitting in a tiny 2-bedroom, bottom level condo in a town, maybe it was an apartment, I don't know, in a town that I never envisioned myself living in. And I remember just being like, we'll be happy. Like, once we start making this amount of money, once we start working in this career field, once we have this vehicle, once we have a house, like, we can be happy then. And, right, that's a never ending target. And every time that we would reach the target, it was sort of like, okay, but that was never enough. And so we were constantly building up this like impossible material worth that was never going to be enough anyways, because every time that we got it, it was kind of like, oh, okay, but we should want something nicer. And then start building up to that. And then start building up to the nicer house. And then start building up to, okay, this is good, but it's not good enough. Let's go get something bigger. Okay, this is good, but it's not good enough. Let's go get something fancier. Okay, this is good, but it's not good enough. Let's go get fill in the blank. And the needs and wants increased along with the salary. Hello, right? And that is a vicious cycle. And unfortunately, it's a vicious cycle of unhappiness, of ungratefulness. And for me, that looked like just unwinding the power of that, the power that held over me, right? And kind of undoing this ungrateful spirit that I had created in myself. You know, I had gotten used to the lifestyle that came with 2 incomes, right? In one household, in a small town. And I sort of was like, oh, well, shoot. Okay, cool. I can make that amount of money. That's pretty easy. No big deal, right? And it is a big deal. Making money is a big, big deal. Knowing how to make money. And so I kind of just painfully broke that power chain. It was painful. And when you're making $0 for longer amounts of time than I like to think about, all of a sudden you're really grateful for $1. Actually, you're really grateful for 1 penny. And imagine how that shifts your mindset around money. And not that that's going to be everyone's path, but my path generally is like, make it as painful as possible so you can process through it and really feel and listen to what you're experiencing, right? Because it's similar to the cell phone. In removing that, I can actually hear what those pain points are, hear what I'm telling myself when I don't have that distraction. Right? And so when I removed money, all of a sudden I could hear the stories around money I was telling myself, the stories around money my significant other was telling himself, the stories around money we as a couple were telling ourselves. And that could begin to change and shift the relationship. But it couldn't, because we always had the distraction of just a constant flow, of a constant comfortableness, right? And if we weren't grateful with 0, with $1, with 1 penny, we certainly wouldn't be grateful with 1,000,000 pennies or dollars, whatever, right? And so we had to make that uncomfortable shift. And really that allowed us to dive into what those truths and untruths were that we were telling ourselves, right? And I am not saying jump like I did. I am very, very aware of the privilege that exists within my own being, of the privilege that exists within my relationship status, like every single day, right? I'm aware of those things. And so by no means, if you have no backing, if you have no ability to kind of build up a safety net around you in order for you to test that, in order for you to change that relationship, it may not be possible for you, and that's okay. But what does it look like for you to test that in a safe space? Even if it doesn't look like my journey, which was just like, okay, do nothing, make no money. I remember when I was doing insurance calls and paid per second that I kept someone on the phone. And this wasn't that long ago. So, and I remember just being like, you know what, Jordan? I know $3 an hour doesn't seem like a lot. I get it, okay? But $3 an hour compared to $0 an hour? What? How amazing, right? And, he obviously didn't share in my excitement for that accomplishment, but really it makes you think, right? And it makes you just feel the true value in you and what you bring and what you're worth. And I don't think that I quite knew what I was worth anymore, and still building that back and still understanding the worth of money. But I think for me, it was really about kind of removing the power that money had over me. And I don't know if it's even about the power, but in the complacency that money had put me in, right? Like there was always just a level up, but since I had kind of removed the power of material things, the power of money just really didn't matter as much anymore. And so, really removing that relationship and better understanding that relationship, I think helped a lot in the growth with kind of this abundance mindset and this reality that I can call anything into my life. And so there really isn't a scarcity mindset there anymore. And that was a significant power shift. That was a significant call out on my life and the comfort that I had sort of adopted into my own being, into our existence as a couple, into our existence in this world. And, I think we needed that shakeup just so we didn't stay right there, just so we didn't stay unhappy, even with the amount of money that we had at that point. Like, right? So we didn't keep striving for more. So we started striving for things that we wanted, not just excess. And I don't know. It's sort of challenging, and I like to do extreme tests, obviously. Live extreme tests of whatever it is I'm feeling discomfort with, of whatever it is that has an extreme hold over me. Money has always been an extreme hold pattern for me. There was so much discomfort around money growing up. There was so much discomfort around, how to even just exist in this world and middle classedness and all the things. And so since that held such a power, that was like a really big one that I had to experience extreme amounts of discomfort around in order to break down those beliefs and truly hear what those beliefs were, right? Like, I have no worth without bringing in money. And what I found is I do have worth, in fact, regardless of a monetary contribution to society or not. I have worth. I am worthy. I am a person. And I think, that's somewhat of why I even got in that position where money held so much power over me, because it was such an elusive target, because it was such a power play over my very existence. I don't even question how I got there, how that happened. But I could start to unwind it, and that looked like just removing that power altogether for a little while. And That's a risky one, I'll tell you. And it is not a fun one. And it actually causes a lot of discomfort. But in that discomfort comes realities, like the realities of what I thought about money came to fruition in sitting with the silence, in sitting with the discomfort. The realities of what my husband thought about money and of my worth came to reality, came to existence. And instead of avoiding those conversations, instead of just covering them up and figuring out a way to do that, right, we had to come to the table and have those conversations. And I don't know that that one's fully played out yet. But I will say, definitely keyed in on some of the things that were still holding us back, even though we had made amazing moves forward with money. There were still things holding us up around that topic. And so I don't know. Anything that has a hold or power over you. And now that I'm like, kind of getting into this extreme form of spirituality, it's kind of like, I don't even know, like, what matters anymore. And that seems like a really strange thing to say. But, like, once you better understand what holds power and what doesn't, and you start to kind of remove those power patterns, you get into this place where nothing holds over you. And I experienced this when I was at work. I would always be so like striving for something, and because there was no excitement in the everydayness that was work, right? I would fill those gaps with like, what's in the cafeteria? What is changing? What is exciting? What can we be excited about here? And when I get home, there's nothing exciting here. There's nothing, really going on here. It's just everydayness. I'm not happy here. So like, what are we going to eat? Maybe I'll get takeout. That sounds exciting. Okay, let's do that. And start paying attention to what you are filling the gaps in with, right? Because that probably is a PowerPoint for you. And for me, that looked like food and shopping. And so that's money and food, two of the big power plays in my life. And those were, right at that point, how I experienced happiness in the everyday. Because they held such power over me, that was the only way that I believed that I could experience happiness. Right? And so pay attention to those things. What are those things that you're looking forward to? What are those things in your everyday? Because I get it. There are bigger things, and those are a lot of times where we focus most of our energy, that like next thing that we're going to get, and we'll be happy then. Start to pay attention to how you're passing the time. Those are probably things that are holding power over you, and you can start to see what the removal of that looks like. So maybe that looks like removing one shopping trip this month, right? And seeing how you do without that, seeing how you experience things without that, and listening to that voice, because it will talk to you when you're removing that, right? And that's how you understand what and why that has power over you and what it's saying to you in those moments, in that downtime. It's speaking. A lot of us just fast forward, right? Because it's easier, it's more comfortable, it's hard to listen because we don't want to hear what it has to say. But you can start to key in on those things. I like to just focus on whatever it is that I'm experiencing joy with. And not that we're removing joy, right? We're removing the extension of joy. We're finding joy in the day-to-day things that we're doing, removing whatever those power play things are. So if it's your phone, if it's, I don't know, food, whatever that is for you, start paying attention to that and see if you can just pull it back like one day a week or one time a week and see what's being said when you take that out. because a lot is happening there that you don't realize. And it could be the way that you unlock this higher self. As always, you're smart, you're strong, you're beautiful. What are you going to do? Change the world. Sorry, I forgot to turn you on and off.